Hey you guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Vienna Ortiz and I am super excited that you are here because today is going to be such a fun video, but also I hope super helpful. So today we're going to talk about how to create multiple pieces of content from one idea. So I find that people really struggle with taking one idea and really branching it out into a bunch of different ideas. And this is something that I really love to do and enjoy doing. And so I wanted to share with you how I do that. Most of the time I can sit there and I can do this without any type of visual, but it's really nice to use a visual. And so today I am going to be doing that by showing you how to also mind map and use mind mapping as your tool for creating multiple pieces of content. So just so you know, I am not going to be showing you how to create your content pillars, but we are going to be taking a fake content pillar, a content pillar that I don't personally use, and kind of branching it out and seeing what kind of content we can create. You're going to find that we're going to be able to create 19 different pieces of content as far as just the idea of what we can post about. So without further ado, let's jump into some mind mapping and create this content. So here I have the mind mapping desk pad from Cloth and Paper, and I thought this would be a perfect way to show you how to break content down and make it into smaller pieces of content, because this is essentially what I do, but I don't do it using this kind of paper. This is a really cool little notepad. So the first thing I want to mention is I'm going to be talking about a niche that I don't actually work with. So that way I can share with you how this can be done with all types of niches. So I am actually going to be talking about the health niche. Okay, so let's say you've already gone through the process of trying to figure out what your specific niche is, and that specific niche that you've chosen is like nutrition, right? So it's not just health necessarily, but it's nutrition. So there's a lot of different types of pillars that you can have, but let's say we're just going to work with the one pillar, right? So we have nutrition tips as our one pillar that we're working with, because we can obviously have a pillar for personal branding and a pillar for whatever else we want. But for our specific needs right now, we are going to be making some content and breaking down some content for nutrition tips. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is kind of decide how we're going to break nutrition tips into different categories, right? So here I have nutrition tips, and I want to break that down into emotional tips. I might have put that too far. Educational food tips here, and then here, meal tips. Now, all of these things fall under the umbrella of nutrition tips. But if I tell somebody, let's create some nutrition tips, they're going to be like, where do I start and how do I break this down so that I can continue having content for a very long time? If you're wondering what I'm using, I'm also using these sticky notes from Cloth and Paper and these sticky notes from Cloth and Paper to kind of work with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of write down the different smaller pillars or pieces of information that we're going to work with. So this one is emotional tips. This is why we're doing this very physically, because I want you to see how it gets broken down. Now let's first start with emotional tips, and we're trying to think of some content to give for emotional tips. This is something that our audience is struggling with. This is something that they need help with. Now, one of the emotional things we might want to talk about is maybe guilt. I'm not trying to teach you about nutrition tips or about health or anything like that. I don't know much about that. I'm trying to show you how to break things down. Now, if somebody was teaching about nutrition and giving emotional tips, guilt would probably be something that would pop up. Now, guilt is kind of its own like type of topic. Like, you could talk about so many things with guilt, and say one of the things we can talk about is like certain foods and guilt. So there's certain foods that people eat that create guilt. So that could be its own post on its own. Another thing related to guilt could be, this could be weight related. So maybe like having weight issues and feeling guilty because you can't lose weight. Something along those lines would be a great emotional tip. Now, working off emotions again and giving emotional tips. So maybe under emotional tips, people may feel like pressure. So we can talk here about pressure, and we can build off of that and say maybe like the pressure to be on a diet. Maybe we're debunking that for our audience. So another emotion here that people might want to talk about is comparison. And there's so many things that we can talk about here with comparison. So branching off of that, we can talk about the way people compare weight, way people compare body image. You're probably wondering, okay, Vienna, where are you even getting these ideas from? And honestly, it all stems from trying to figure out what your audience wants and needs and what they really need to hear from you. So with that being said, I am going to just kind of highlight the comparison, the guilt, and the pressure because I can continue to work off of those emotions to create more posts. But essentially, I've taken nutrition tips, I've broken it down to emotional tips, I've broken it down to guilt, to pressure, to comparison, and I've broken it down even further. So we're going to do that here for these two things as well. So under meal tips, you might want to talk about meal planning, right? And kind of what that looks like. You can also branch out from meal planning and talk about maybe for different types of people. So you can talk about for working moms maybe, or meal planning for, I don't know, gluten-free, dairy-free. There's all kinds of different variations that you can really go into with that. And so there's that. You can talk about with meal planning, you could talk about making it simpler. You can talk about on the go meals. So I want to count how many pieces of content I've already created for this one content pillar, because this is assuming that we have other content pillars within our kind of content bank and our content strategy, but we're just going off of this one content pillar to really focus on some of these areas. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Just with this one mind map and kind of breaking everything down, I've already created 19 pieces of content, which for some people, if they don't post every day, is more than a full more than a full month of content creation. So this is essentially how I would create multiple pieces of content out of one content idea and kind of continue to branch out. Now, you can always branch out even further. I would probably not recommend going too far out so that you're not too far off of your topic, but really going like 2 branches out is going to help you to really stretch out your content as far as you can and make the most out of it. So I hope that you were able to see through that mind map just how many pieces of content that you can really create out of one idea. And we really were able to create 19 pieces of content out of just this one content pillar. Imagine if you had multiple content pillars and you had 19 pieces of content for each. So we're talking like 4 content pillars times 19 pieces. That is a lot of content. And for those of you that are really only posting a few times a month, that is multiple months of content. Now, obviously, this is just the planning process of the content. You still have to go through the creation of the content, which takes more time. But if you really sit down and get into kind of the mode of creativity and really just start pumping out all of these different content ideas, you don't have to use all of them if you find that some are repetitive or some just don't make sense. But at least kind of breaking it down like that is going to help you to see how much longevity you really have from just one idea. So I hope this was interesting for you. If you have any follow-up questions, leave them in the comments below. Or if you just want to say hello, I love that. Please like this video if you want to see more like this. Subscribe if you want to keep up with my videos. And I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.